Good morning, everyone. It's the start of a new month, and we finally have some credible NFL action. Kind of. Things are happening, right? We've got some stuff to sink our teeth into when it comes to prospect evaluation. We have the NFL scouting combine. Technically, it started yesterday, but we don't have any real action yet. The bulk of the combine takes place between today, March 1st, and March 7th. And we're going to take a quick look at the schedule for the combine to get an idea of what we're going to be looking at. But a lot of the content on this channel for the next week is going to be oriented around the combine. My hope is that I'm able to collect enough information to put together at least one video a day on what we learn. Technically, the combine has already started with a few positions, but we haven't had a chance to really learn the things that are going to be of special interest yet. So let's take a look at this schedule to get an idea of what we're looking at. Yesterday, a few positional groups registered. They had their pre-exam, they had their orientation, and they had some interviews. Most of that stuff is not going to be of a lot of interest to us as fans. The interviews might reveal something. The first positional groups to go are tight end, quarterback, and wideout, which personally, like obviously, there are going to be some teams that are going to be very interested here, but tight end, I want to address via free agency. I'm not really that interested in the draft tight ends. Wideout, we don't really have a big need there right now. We don't have really any need there right now. And quarterback's interesting a little bit, but we're talking about a backup quarterback that could easily be a veteran. So there might not be a whole lot of meat on the bone for Seahawks fans with this first group. But nevertheless, they went through their initial combine processes yesterday, and today's the day when it kind of starts to pick up for them. And then, as you can see, things get staggered for the next collection of positional groups. So they actually have things laid out in a pretty interesting way here, where they kind of go in shifts, right? They have two or three positional groups go one day, and then they move forward with their next section while the next positional groups come in to do what the previous positional groups did the previous day. So they've got this laid out pretty well, and the final day of the combine will be Monday, although nothing's really happening on Monday as of right now. It's just the final group leaves, and then we'll have combine data. All right, so on today, the main action is going to be the medical exam and potential special studies for the tight ends, quarterbacks, and wideouts, as well as some more interviews. So this is something that could reveal an injury that people were unaware of, maybe they didn't know about. Not the most interesting stuff maybe to us fans, but we're starting to get into more stuff that can actually be talked about, right? Like if we learn that, Malik Willis has a hairline fracture in his toe or something, I don't know, then that would affect his draft stock somewhat, I imagine. And it's still a little bit thin here, but you do have a positional group starting their process at the same time that will be more interesting to Seahawks fans. We have the offensive line, which is a very, very compelling position for Seahawks fans. And running backs, they're going to be starting their first day process. And then that gets us to tomorrow, Wednesday, where the tight ends, quarterbacks, and wideouts start doing media work, which we'll probably be a little more privy to. We'll probably get to see how these guys do with the media, and maybe we'll learn something about them. Maybe we'll learn if they're hot-headed. Maybe we'll learn if they have a sense of humor. There are going to be some more interviews, so you're going to... One thing that's going to come from the interviews, hopefully, is you see which players the Seahawks are interested in by who they're interviewing. Who they meet with is going to tell you who they may be drafting. So I think that even on these early days when there isn't a whole hell of a lot going on that directly affects us fans, these interviews will tell us something about who the team is interested in. We also have an ortho exam, basically just a more thorough medical exam, I think, and an NFLPA meeting, which probably doesn't have too much to do with us. The offensive line and running backs will get their medical exam, do some interviews, special studies, and the defensive line, which is interesting to the Seahawks, and linebacker, which is also potentially interesting to the Seahawks, show up to the combine at this point as well and register, have their exam, orientation, etc., etc. So now things start to get a little bit spicy on Thursday. A couple days from now, we actually get to the stuff with the combine that I think people are most familiar with. Like if you've ever turned on NFL Network during the combine, they're usually showing the stuff that is actually on the field, the stuff that translates easily to what we think of when we think of football. Yes, the interviews are interesting, the media stuff's interesting, the medical stuff is important, but if there's something that I think people mentally associate with the combine, it would probably be the parts where you do like workouts, bench press, and measurements, and that's what happens on Thursday. So you've got your tight ends, wideouts, and quarterbacks doing measurements, doing bench press, and their on-field workouts. So you're going to see quarterbacks do drills where they're showing how they can throw from the pocket. They're going to do accuracy drills. They might do some arm strength drills. They're going to show how tall they are. They're going to show how much they weigh. And again, I do think that there may be an interest for a late round quarterback in Seattle. So there will be something to watch on Thursday. I will definitely be tuning into the NFL Network to see what these quarterbacks can do. And I'll give the tight end room a chance, I guess. At the same time, you're going to have your offensive linemen and running backs go through their media, more interviews, ortho exams. We're probably going to learn some good stuff there. Who the Seahawks are looking at on offensive line and running back for this draft is going to be something that I think Seahawks beat reporters are going to be all over, and I'll be all over it as well because that's going to tell us a lot. The defensive linemen and linebackers start their general medical exam and interview stuff. So, hey, these are positions where we may very well need some help, and the draft is a very reasonable place to get some. And at the same time, your defensive backs, kickers, and special teamers will show up. Defensive back may very well be an area that we get at least one rookie at, so there's some interest here, even though they're not starting on the super interesting stuff yet. Friday, the tight ends, quarterbacks, and wideouts leave. Their combine is over. And now we get to the really fun stuff. We get measurements on running backs and offensive linemen. We get 40 times. We get some, cone drills. We get some shuffle drills. We get hand size. We get all different kinds of stuff. Well, the running backs might be put through some drills where they show how good they can catch passes. How good they can pick up blocks, maybe, how many reps they can bench. You're going to see a lot of compelling stuff there. The on-field workout stuff is always fun to check out. The 40 times are, we probably as football fans overvalue 40 times, but you can't tell me that stuff's worthless. And meanwhile, the defensive linemen, linebackers are going to go through some of their media stuff, interviews. And like I said, that interview portion is going to be telling. The Seahawks are probably going to be meeting with at least some of the guys they're going to end up drafting. And the DBs, kickers, special teamers start to go through some of their medical exam stuff. I think you guys kind of get the drill now. Saturday is the offensive linemen and running backs leave. And then we get our pro day for the defensive linemen and linebackers. Always fun. More 40 times, more bench pressing, more drills, more, showing how quickly you can swivel your hips. And the defensive backs, kickers, and special teamers start to pick up as well. And then you get to Sunday, and it's almost done, but you're still getting measurements from defensive backs. And for a position like defensive back, things like the 40 time are key. Hand size, wingspan, that kind of stuff. Carroll cares about that a lot. So the measurement stuff may very well clue us into who Carroll has his eye on. And I know he's kind of been pulling the wool over our eyes lately, like drafting Trey Brown, and to a certain extent, even Shaq Griffin was a departure from his typical type of cornerback that he liked to draft. But we know that kind of stuff is still valuable to him. I don't know if we're going to draft a kicker, but I do feel like we're going to need a new one at some point, and special teamers are always valuable. And that's really all you've got on Sunday. And then Monday, it's over. The DBs, kickers, and special teamers leave. And the combine's over. So that's your schedule. I'm going to try to make one video a day about the combine. We're going to have a lot of content on the combine. We're going to see who shines. We're going to see who comes up lame. We're going to see who disappoints, who excels, who surprises. And by the end of the combine, we'll probably have a much better idea of who the Seahawks might draft and who would make sense for them to draft. So that's your combine schedule for the next week, and that should give you an idea of what kind of content you can expect here. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Let me know what you think down below. Are you going to be watching the combine? How are you going to be digesting it? Do you place a lot of credence into the combine? Do you think it's overrated? Let me know. See you guys later today. Peace out. Go Hawks.